But now, can they achieve what only 5 teams in history have managed to accomplish? To repeat as Super Bowl champions. Only 3 men have coached a team to consecutive Super Bowl wins. Redskins coach Joe Gibbs is well aware of why it's so difficult.
I think you got a shorter off season because you play longer. You play the toughest schedule in the league the following year. I think everybody has a tendency to think they're better than what they are, including the coaches. Nobody's going to have trouble getting ready to play a Super Bowl team.
These quarterbacks have overcome those hurdles to lead their teams to back-to-back Super Bowl wins. But none of these teams were damaged by injuries to key players, as have been Mark Griffin's Redskins.
Our attitude has been great, and our will has been tremendous. It's just been finding a way to get it done.
Great defensive players have anchored these Super Bowl clubs through the late season crunch. Defensive end Charles Mann is in a position to do the same.
In these last 6 weeks, this is when the people that are going to go on to the Super Bowl are going to start standing up, and so we still have an opportunity.
The Washington Redskins face the New Orleans Saints on ABC's Monday Night Football. Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Are you ready for Frank and Alan Dan live from the Superdome? We're gonna make you smile and get rid of your blues and do the Monday Night Football boogie for you. You're ready for some football. The Redskins and the Saints are coming your way. It's Monday Night Football and it's time to play. The Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Damp and cool on the outside, but cozy on the inside, where a capacity crowd of nearly 70,000 is expected. A nice meeting between the Washington Redskins and the New Orleans Saints. A carnival atmosphere here in the Superdome. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford with Al Michaels and Dan Deerdorf. Happy you're with us. Important matchup tonight, the Washington Redskins and the New Orleans Saints. The Washington Redskins into tonight's game. They need a win to stay with Philadelphia 2 behind the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Eastern Division. Meanwhile, the New Orleans Saints, they need a win tonight to stay 1 behind the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC West, but they're in trouble there because they've already lost 2 to the 49ers. They lost a 1-pointer a week ago. For the Washington Redskins, the Super Bowl defending champions, Al, they come into tonight following a dream season of a year ago, few injuries, everything working out absolutely perfect for them, and all of a sudden the total collapse here, and not a total collapse, but I mean, as you would say, the wheels have come off this football team at the moment.
Frank, I don't know whether to call them the Redskins or the Red Cross. They have been decimated with injuries, particularly at linebacker, defensive back, and along the offensive line. Some people are counting this team out. Don't. This team knows how to rebound. Last week they were terrible, losing to Kansas City 35-16. Joe Gibbs knows how to get this team to regroup. They've not lost 2 straight games since 1989. If they get their people healthy again, win tonight, beat Phoenix next week, they're 8-4 and back in the picture. But they've got to score. Amazingly, the Redskins, with that potent offense, the offensive unit has scored 2 touchdowns in the last 19 quarters. They need a hot night from Mark Rippon, and Dan, that is easier said than done against the Saints, a team noted year after year for defense.
Not the place to try to turn in a great offensive game plan down here in the Superdome, because you're facing the NFL's #1 defense against the pass in the New Orleans Saints. And when you look at this, the pressure comes from the corners. It's going to come from Pat Swilling and Ricky Jackson. And the 2 offensive tackles of the Redskins, Simmons and McKenzie, not only have to block those 2, but the crowd you can hear behind me, because there's no way they will hear Mark Rippon's snap count tonight. Offensively for the Saints, we're going to see a new back, Fred McAfee. He's not new here in New Orleans. He was their leading rusher last year. He's only carried the ball 4 times this year. Jim Moore is going to try to go offensively with some fresh legs.
And we'll take a look at that New Orleans offensive unit immediately. They'll get the ball. Chip Lohmiller to kick off. 2 great place kickers in this game, Lohmiller and Morton Anderson. And he angles the kick. It's taken at the 5 by Fred McAfee. And the second-year man from Mississippi College runs it back out to the 25-yard line. Saints will take over at that spot. Bobby Hebert, local kid made good. sat out the '90 season, came back last year, led him to the playoffs. This season, pretty good year, all things considered. We'll see Hilliard, but as Dan mentioned, we'll see a lot of McAfee as well. Hayward, Ironhead, the blocking back, with Martin and Early, the wideouts, and Brenner, the long-time tight end. Then up front, you've got Cooper, Dombrowski, Hilgenberg, Kennard, and Stan Brock. Brock in his 13th year from Colorado. First down, New Orleans from the 26-yard line. Hebert, the short drop, and the quick throw over the middle to Frank Wainwright, their other tight end, as they came out in a 2-tight end set. He is a little short of the first down. It's a gain of 9, tackled by A.J. Johnson. Up front, Mann, Williams, Tim Johnson, and Collins in place of the injured Stokes. Marshall, Brantley in the middle. We'll see Gouveia, though, in passing situations, and Collins back. He was hurt last week. The secondary totally banged up. Mays and A.J. Johnson, the corners. Bowles and Edwards are the safeties. Danny Copeland is hurt. Darrell Green, there he is. He is back for the first time since the second week. He'll play a nickel. They lost Martin Mayu last week to a broken arm. Hayward bangs through the middle for a first down. Tackled by Brad Edwards. So an auspicious beginning for the Saints as they take it out to the 45-yard line, first down.
Interesting, they open that series, the Saints do, with Hayward as the only setback. Here he comes on the third and short yardage, and Hayward goes about 260 if you're not familiar with this man. Big gaping hole, and he gets it out to the 45-yard line, but now they have brought in Dalton Hilliard, who has been their back of record for the past several weeks.
And a double tight end set. Hilliard, the sole setback. First down from the 45-yard line. That's the second tight end, Wainwright, in motion to provide leverage, and Hilliard cuts it back, takes it into Redskin territory, and moves all the way down to the 45-yard line and very close to a first down.
Quite simply tonight, guys, what the Washington Redskins need is for Jim Mora's ball club here to give them some help. And Washington defensively can't allow New Orleans to run the football like this effectively. The Washington defense is going to have to win this game tonight by holding the Saints. And there's Richie Pettibone, their assistant head coach and defensive coordinator. So much pressure on the Redskins defensive team tonight. They cannot allow the Saints to control the ball.
And the Saints come up in a 3 tight end set. The sole setback is McAfee, and there is a big play by Shane Collins, number 91. Busting through, takes care of McAfee in the backfield, and that's a 5-yard loss.
And we talked about so many problems from the injuries for the Redskins on offense, but defensively they've had nothing but trouble. Tim Johnson is playing with an injured rib tonight, and Collins a little bit of a face mask and doesn't draw the flag, but the loss is about 5 yards. But Fred Stokes is playing with a sore knee. The 2 starting cornerbacks from the Super Bowl a year ago, they are not here tonight, even though Green may play in the nickel defense, but they are really banged up, this Redskins team.
Second and 15. Saints at the 50-yard line with 3 wideouts. Hebert takes the play clock all the way down to 2. Gets protection, and then the pass is knocked down and nearly picked off. That's Wilber Marshall having an all-pro season, breaking it up.
Remember last year we saw Seth Joyner of the Eagles on several occasions just turn in spectacular games, and it seems that every time we, along with everyone else, has seen Wilber Marshall, he has been doing things like this just series after series. Wilber Marshall has been an all-pro player consistently throughout his career in the NFL, and I don't think he's ever had a year approaching what he's doing this year. His best ever.
For the Redskins on 3rd and long, Darrell Green is in the lineup on the nickel defense for them. First time since the middle of September. He went out with a broken arm, as you recall back then.
Trips left, 4 receivers. Hebert from the gun. He has to get it to the 35 to convert. He throws underneath, and it's Dalton Hilliard making the catch, and he had no chance. There were 2 skins there. Todd Bowles gets credit for the tackle, and so New Orleans, after coming out and pounding it on the ground, is 3 and out here from midfield.
Quick look at Richie Pettibone, the defensive coordinator for the Skins. His job to put this all back together, and Marshall with another superb play. And as Dan pointed out, he's just having an unbelievable year.
Wilber almost intercepted that ball, and Hilliard came up with it. That was pretty doggone good work by both of those guys.
Tommy Barnhart having a good year. You've got Howard and Mitchell both back for Washington. And a fair catch is called for and made at the 13-yard line by the Heisman Trophy winner, Desmond Howard. And the Redskins will take over offensively for the first time at that spot. 10:49 left first quarter, no score. Interceptions. To this point this year, he already has thrown 11 interceptions to go with 7 touchdown passes. Biner starts in the backfield, then the posse, Sanders, Clark, and Monk. Warren is the tight end, the blocker. And then the revamped offensive line, including Matt Elliott, who was the last player chosen in the draft, starting at center. They're still minus Bostic. He's gone for the year. They're still minus Jim Lachey. They hope to have him back in December. First down Redskins from the 13-yard line, and they begin with Ernest Biner, who sat out a good part of last week's game at Kansas City with a neck injury, but he's back. He picks up a couple. 3-man front for the Saints. Martin really coming into his own now, along with the veterans Wilson, Warren. The quartet of linebackers, terrific. Jackson, Mills, Johnson, and Swilling. Any of them could go to the Pro Bowl. Then the defensive backs, Cook and Jones, are at the corners. Taylor takes Brett Maxey's spot. Maxey, a knee injury last week, gone for the year, and Gene Atkins at the other safety spot. Second and 7 at the 16-yard line, and here is Biner.
And now comes the most interesting part of the game for Washington offensively. This is the noisiest building in the National Football League. And he has a banged-up offensive line, and McKenzie and Simmons, the 2 tackles, are locked up one-on-one with Pat Swilling and Ricky Jackson. They will not be able to hear Mark Rippon. It's Joe Jacoby standing on the sideline. He's not any help tonight. There's Jim Lachey, the other tackle. The 2 tackles must look inside to the football to see it move before they can pass block.
Jacoby tonight on the inactive list, not injured reserve. He can play next week. 3rd and 6. Rippon stepping up, buying time, scrambling, and dives to the 24-yard line, and with that dive, gets the first down. Sam Mills with the tackle. Mark Griffin, tough, very tough, and he showed you why right there.
Oh, he is so very tough. Now, this is not his game, and he has been hammered and beaten up this season. I don't know whether you had a chance to look at the Minnesota game a few weeks ago. He was almost taken out of that game on many occasions. Nowhere to go. He knows what he needs for the first down. Here comes Swilling. He just puts the head down, and this is not the way Mark Rippon likes to play this game, I can assure you. But he is one tough guy, and he gets the first.
8:40 to go. First quarter, no score. Redskins with their first possession. First down. Saints nearly jump, but they get back onside. And then Rippon flings one out to Desmond Howard, and he is bounced out of bounds. The Heisman Trophy winner, who has been very sparingly used this season.
That's number 1, I believe.
First one.
Yep.
First catch of his NFL career.
He came in late, held out throughout the entire preseason, never got a chance to work into the complexities of the Redskins offense. Has been running back kickoffs, and this time he is on the receiving end of a Rippon shot, and he shows the quickness that made him the Heisman Award winner at Michigan a year ago. Great return man, a lot of speed.
Second and 2, and here is Biner again. And Ernest to the outside, but the Saints are able to string it out, and they bounce him out of bounds at the 34-yard line. Keith Taylor with the tackle. The Redskins, and we talked about their offensive futility, just the 2 offensive touchdowns in the last 19 quarters. That's almost 5 games. As you see, over their last 5 games, they've scored 1 touchdown in 4 of them. None against the Vikings, though they did win that game on 5 field goals. It's the first time that's happened to Washington, 5 straight games without more than 1 TD since they were the Boston Redskins in the 30s.
Hey, you got some defensive teams around the league that are doing better than that. I mean, really, when you stop to consider it, 4 touchdowns, almost unthinkable with this offensive scheme, but it just, again, a reflection of the devastating number of injuries that the Redskins have had to endure. And that man right there, Jim Hannafin, has been juggling people more than any line coach in the league has had to do in a long time.
Few sleepless nights, Dan, trying to figure out the combination, a hog here and a hog there. That's about how it's been.
It's a good thing that hair was gray before the season started, because this would have changed it.
After the measurement, Biner got enough for the first down. Skins at their own 35-yard line. They give it to Biner again, And Ernest can't go anywhere. Stopped by a passel of black shirts led by Wayne Martin, number 93, in on the hit.
His first NFL start tonight, Matt Elliott, the last guy drafted. And take a look, it's been since 1980 that Mr. Elliott's accomplishments have been duplicated. I talked to him this afternoon, and he said his number one goal tonight was to not get ill. He said, I just hope you don't see the pregame meal.
2nd and 11. Here come the Saints. There goes the football. Still loose. Washington.
The referee
pointed the wrong way. It's Washington's ball.
Yeah, obviously.
Terry Orr clearly came up with a recovery.
Yeah.
Washington recovered the ball.
Yes.
3rd down.
Sam Mills is the man who stripped it.
Corner blitz by the New Orleans Saints. And numerically, it just did not match up with the Washington Redskins. That was Vince Buck coming from the outside. There's the pressure. As Swilling is also there. There's Buck. And then the wild scramble.
Elliott almost had the ball. And at the very last minute, you can see Terry Orr covers it up.
Loss of 9, 3rd and 20 at the 25. 6:22 to go. First quarter, no score. They have to get to their own 45, and they get to midfield on a Ricky Sanders reception. First down, needed 20, got 24. Ricky Sanders.
Again, New Orleans comes with the corner blitz, and this time the Redskins were able to pick it up. And Sanders hitting the seam in the deep zone for the first down. Good
Beautiful
blocking by that offensive front.
It sure was. That was better protection than I think Mark Rippon has a right to expect on every down, and he took advantage of it. A beautiful pass downfield to Sanders.
He's such a good long thrower when he has the time.
1st and 10, Skins at their own 49-yard line. On 1st and 10, off the fake to Biner. The catch is made by Biner at the 43-yard line as they throw underneath. Ernest makes his 29th catch of the season. Sanders, who made that first down reception, part of the posse, but really the posse has been playing possum of late. They have not really been that big a factor this year. In fact, Clark, Monk, and Sanders combined have only 5 touchdowns all season.
That's reflective of the problems up front, I think. When you don't have time to throw the football, how many times have we seen Rippon scrambling already here tonight? He's had one play when he could sit back there in the pocket and he hits right on target with it. Other than that, he's been scrambling all over the field, even here tonight. And that'll take your wide receivers out of the game.
2 tight ends in this set. Ron Middleton, 87, in motion on 2nd and 2, and this is Biner following Orr, runs into Orr and gets knocked down behind the line of scrimmage.
You know, really, guys, it's been bad timing for the Redskins offensively. Rippon's holdout cost him early in the season. I mean, when he had his line healthy, Mark wasn't sharp. And then about the time that Mark Rippon started to play himself into mid-season form, having missed training camp, his line disappears on him. It has been very poor timing, really, that has conspired against the Redskins offensively. Redskins are now sharp offensively at quarterback and weak up front. And there are 2 large reasons why.
3rd and a long 3 from the 44-yard line. 4 minutes to go. First quarter, no score. Play clock is to 1. Play clock to 0, but they get it off. And the pass is too high, intended for Sanders.
And Dan talked earlier how disruptive this crowd can be. And Joe Gibbs said, look, when you come in the NFL today, you just have 2 game plans, one for at home and one when you go on the road, and it's particularly true here. There's no way Mark Rippon could have changed that play at the line of scrimmage had he wanted to. No one would have heard it but him.
I think the fans are cutting the Redskins kind of a break. We've heard it a lot noisier here than it is early in this ball game.
And we're early.
Yeah, it's not as noisy as it has been, but still, audibles, as you said, Frank, are out of the question.
Goodburn to punt. Patrick Newman to return the kick. The Saints have had major problems returning punts this year. Here's a fake, and Kelly Goodburn has the first down.
Oh, the nightmare for all special teams coaches. You talk about it, you spend a lot of time, and when you haven't seen it...
Well, it's not a nightmare for him. Wayne
No,
Severe
I mean for the defensive unit, the punt return team.
Something about one man's nightmare is another man's daydream. That worked well. Look at this. Beautifully executed. Wide open to the right side, and it's designed that way. And Goodburn relaxes at the last minute. He pays a real price for it.
And a good block by Brian Mitchell. It might have made the difference as Mitchell made a real good block to get the last couple of yards.
And last week on a fake punt, Brian Mitchell took the snap and ran for a first down against Kansas City.
The things you have to do when you're banged up. You got to take chances.
Here's Viner on first down from the 39, and he takes it to the 37-yard line. It's Sam Mills making the tackle with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By coal-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold. By Kellogg's, the best to you each morning. And by Samsonite, our strengths are legendary. Each team's had the ball once, and yet the quarter's almost over. Pretty close to the vest. Time-consuming drive, no score. 2nd and 8. Rippon gets hit as he throws. Incomplete. Ricky Jackson breaking it up.
Jackson having a great year. 9.5 sacks coming into tonight's game. And now you talked about all of them being able to go to the Pro Bowl. They have all been to the Pro Bowl. 13 years between them as you go across that line. Jackson and Mills and Johnson and Swilling. And Jackson in his 12th year having an outstanding year.
He must have lined up 3 yards to the outside of Ed Simmons, number 76. I can't begin to describe to you what a nightmare that is for an offensive tackle to have someone with that kind of speed that far to your outside. There he is again, standing up at the top of your screen.
3rd and 8 at the 37-yard line. Rippon stepping up, fires over the middle. The catch is made again by Ricky Sanders, and that's a second third down conversion to number 83, Ricky Sanders. First down at the 18.
Exactly the same play that the Redskins got out of deep of their own territory. It's Swilling and Jackson both coming on the outside. Rippon stepping up. Ricky Sanders hitting the seam, and Mark Rippon again with a little bit of time is a great, deep, accurate passer.
Frank, how good a catch is that by Sanders? That tight spiral. I mean, he grabbed the ball right in the middle of the ball. I mean, that's sensational hands by Sanders. And this, a sensational drive already at 15 plays.
Nothing wrong with the posse if you can get it to him.
And with that clock ticking, this drive is over 9 minutes at the moment. Viner looking to pass. He throws, and it is knocked down. Ron Middleton, the intended receiver, but the Saints not fooled, and Keith Taylor knocks it down. He's the guy taking the spot of the injured Brett Maxey.
Well, that's been tried before by Washington. It was a good read on the part of the defense. Viner has done this over his career from time to time. He was open for a moment, and a good reaction by the secondary of the Saints.
Look at Taylor fall back in there and get his left hand and swat that thing away. Atkins was in a trail position, and if it wasn't for the left hand of Keith Taylor, that would have been a touchdown.
Taylor in the game because of the injury last week to Britt Maxey, and he made a fine play.
Viner in his career is 2 for 8 passing. Both completions were touchdowns. Rippon just does get it off, and then the pass is incomplete. He was under a lot of heat, intended for Terry Orr. Another third down coming up. Robert Pig Goff, 91, is the guy who put the pressure on.
We're not saying that to be mean. I mean, he really likes that nickname.
He loves it.
Pig Goff.
Again, pocket beginning to collapse. Rippon held it as long as he could. And I can't describe the beating that Rippon has taken this year. We talked about him playing himself back into shape. Al, he's lucky the pounding he's taken over the past few weeks that he's even there.
Well, look at the overload to the short side here.
3rd and 10 at the 19-yard line. Again, a lot of heat on Rippon, but he throws to Gary Clark. Touchdown, but flags are down, I believe, after the play. There may have been a face mask at the end. There are 3 flags down, 2 at the goal line, 1 back at the 25. We may have either offsetting or a double foul here. I think you've got 2 separate penalties. Ed Hockley is the referee.
Rippon was hammered after he delivered the ball. What a great timing pass between Rippon and Gary Clark.
A holding against the Redskins and a face mask against the Saints appears to be the calls du jour.
That's de noche.
And Gary Clark's touchdown just went sayonara.
Hockley, a first-year referee, third year in the league as an official.
On the offense, number 63. Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 27. The penalty's offset. We'll repeat third down.
Raleigh McKenzie is the left tackle. At the bottom there, he's working against Pat Swilling. Yes, I think we could call that holding. And after Gary Clark, there's the face mask.
Reginald Jones got his hand on it. A very deep drop on 3rd and 10. The screen to Biner, who busts one tackle, but is stopped considerably short of the first down at the 17. Atkins and Martin make the tackle, so you're looking at about a 35-yard field goal attempt with a minute and change to play in the period.
Frederick Mack made a good play, but he missed the tackle, and so it should be a relatively easy chip shot for Chip Lohmiller. Lohmiller having a good year. He represented much of the scoring for the Redskins thus far this season.
He was leading the league in scoring coming into the weekend. It's a 34-yard attempt. Jeff Rutledge to put it down. And he bangs it through. He makes everything seem like a chip shot. 42 seconds to go in the first quarter, and it's the Redskins who take the early lead in the Crescent City. A lot of football coming your way. Thanksgiving. Join us at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Auburn against Alabama. Alabama trailing only Miami in the rankings. Then on Friday, a day off for most everybody, 1:30 Eastern Time, Nebraska against Oklahoma. We'll be in Seattle next week. The Broncos battling Kansas City for the top spot in the AFC West. Normally a lot of trouble on the road. They go to the Kingdome next Monday night. Skins kick off. Lohmiller sends it into the end zone, and Vaughn Dunbar, their number 1 draft choice, a rookie from Indiana, runs it back and pays the price as he takes it back to the 14-yard line. That's where Hebert and the Saints will take over after the Skins march to a field goal on a 10-minute, 7-second drive. 3-0 Washington. Rapidly played first quarter. Washington leading 3-0. The Saints, who picked up 2 first downs on their first drive, then stalled and had to punt, have it for the second time in the game. And Bobby Hebert leads them to the line, 1st and 10 at the 14-yard line, with Hilliard and Hayward behind him. Four-man rush, swing it out to Ironhead, who takes it up to the 18-yard line. They list him at 260, but he's weighed in, I'm sure, as much as 290 in his career. Gain of 7.
Kurt Gavay in on that stop for the Redskins. He has not been playing in anything but the nickel for the past couple of weeks. Like a lot of the Redskins, banged up. They've been using him carefully in the nickel formation. That time he was the lead tackler against one of the big...
Limited to spot duty, makes the tackle. Eric Martin with a nice block on that play. It'll be 3rd and short, and here are the numbers for the first 15 minutes of play. The numbers including a 10-minute, 7-second Redskin drive.
Only 7 plays for the Saints in that first quarter. By the way, that was McAfee. He was the leading rusher for the Saints a year ago. It was only his 5th attempt of the season. We expect to see a lot of him tonight, or at least we've been told that.
Hilliard back in at tailback here, as he normally is on 3rd down, and it is Dalton who gets the ball. The first down and a lot more up to the 35-yard line. And I thought I saw a flag, and I did. Yeah, there's a marker down, and it's holding, and that's going to come back.
Johnson claiming to the referee that Dombrowski had held him, and they are going to bring it back. Tim Johnson playing with a very sore rib, a cracked rib tonight. You have to really admire some of these guys, Dan, are out there when, well, maybe they shouldn't be, quite frankly.
Holding on the offense, number 72, 10-yard penalty, repeat 3rd down.
Well, Joe Gibbs consistently points out that even with all the things that are going wrong with his ball club, that he has players fighting to get back in. Darrell Green, a good example tonight. Back weeks before he was expected to return, And look at the hole in the middle. Dombrowski, 72, flag for the hole. Johnson pleading his case. A good lead block there by Ironhead Hayward. It's the equivalent of having a guard at fullback when you have a 265-pound guy being your lead blocker.
Officials trying to get the ball correctly spotted. There is the offensive coordinator of the Saints, Carl Smith. It's 3rd down and 11. They're going to spot the ball at the 13-yard line.
Meanwhile, the Saints come with their 4 wideouts. I mean, Torrance Small, the rookie out of Alcorn State, number 83, is in the lineup.
Their leading receiver, again, year after year, Eric Martin, number 84. That's Wesley Carroll in motion, so it's 3 receivers to the left. Hebert looks that way, goes that way, but throws underneath, and that's Carroll making the catch, but not even close to a first down, to the displeasure of this capacity crowd. Stopped by Mays, the boos cascade, as New Orleans is forced to kick.
Anytime a play doesn't go for a first down or for what this crowd will consider to be adequate yardage, they will boo. Carl Smith, who you just saw, the offensive coordinator, is under a fair amount of fire here in New Orleans, as is Jim Mora. I mean, sometimes you're hard-pressed to imagine when you read the papers here that this is a 7-3 football team. They are being subjected to a lot of scrutiny for a club that wins consistently, Frank.
Such a conservative offense. They rely so heavily on a great defense.
Barnhart's kick bounces at the 40, takes a good Saints bounce, a 15-yard bounce, and that's Brian Mitchell going nowhere. Good punt coverage by the Saints. Vince Buck makes the tackle. So the line of scrimmage was the 20, and now Washington will get the ball and bring you the sights and sounds. Little bumper music, as the saying goes, and back we come to the Dome. 13:36 left first half, 3-0 Redskins. 1st and 10 Washington at the 23-yard line. Minor, no gain. Vaughn Johnson whacked him, 53. ABC's Monday Night Football from New Orleans is being brought to you by Chrysler Plymouth, a division of the Chrysler Corporation.
Saints come in with their nickel now. That'll be 2 down linemen. You'll have 1 linebacker in the middle, Sam Mills. You'll have Swilling and Jackson on the outside linebackers, and you'll have 6 defensive backs. You would like to think you could run against it. Teams have had a tough time doing that.
That's Orr in motion, 2nd and 11. Minor stays in the block. The catch is made over the middle, and that's Terry Orr out to the 31-yard line. Vaughn Johnson makes the tackle, and Orr, who had been nothing but a blocker basically throughout his career in Washington, more and more a part of the passing game as the weeks go by.
That's his 12th of the year, and a little bit by necessity too. Donnie Warren is one of those Redskins that playing hurt a great deal. It's an interesting situation. Some stats on the Redskins and the New Orleans Saints. They like to throw the football when they get into a situation like this. 3rd and 2. That's interesting, Dan. Is that for the snap count, do you think?
That's so that Raleigh McKenzie, the left tackle, you see him looking into the ball. Now he looks outside, and when he's releasing the hand from Ray Brown, he knows the ball's been snapped.
Griffin drops the football and recovers it at the 23-yard line. Ricky Jackson knocks it loose. Griffin recovers. It's a sack. It's 3 and out, and the Redskins are forced to punt.
Well, that was from the nickel once again. 2 down linemen, and just no way that they can deal with Ricky Jackson and Pat Swilling. They keep closing Mark Griffin down. He tries to step back into the pocket. This time he doesn't get back in, and down he goes.
Goodburn, who faked the punt the last time to keep a drive alive, which was consummated with a field goal. Patrick Newman back to accept it, standing at his own 35. Great kick. 53 yards. Flag down on the return, and Newman down to the 27-yard line. Tackled by Monty Coleman. Ed Hockley is the ref.
Pretty good start to a game for Goodburn. He runs a punt for a first down and now punts one nearly out of the stadium.
And they're going to get the benefit of a call against the Saints. So instead of the Saints winding up with what figured to be fairly decent field position, they're back in terrible shape again, deep in their own territory. 53-yard kick plus the penalty.
Holding on the return team, number 26. After the punt, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Vince Buck.
It is the bottom of your screen. It's very obvious. They have an easy through the flag. Vince Buck calls for the infraction when the Saints start inside their own 15.
Yards per carry. And look at the right-hand side of that. With 28 teams in the league, they have been consistently in the latter half, year after year. Now, the league average for yards per rush is almost always 4.0, so they have been just under that in the Mora era.
And that compounds the problems for their desire to go play action. When you can't run, the play action fools nobody. And Mora loves to go play action, but it's not fooling anyone now.
First down from the 13-yard line. Over the middle, the catch is made. That's Torrance Small, and he takes it in at the 20-yard line. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Chrysler Plymouth, a division of the Chrysler Corporation. 11 minutes to go, first half. Washington ahead, 3-0.
That's the rookie from Alcorn State. Got all kinds of records there. Got him in the 5th round. He's big, 6'3". Not great speed, but good quickness, and has shown some real good talent here in his rookie year. Good hands.
3 tight end set, 2nd and 2. Small in motion. And the big back, Ironhead, gets wrestled down close to a first down at the 22-yard line.
A lot of noise when Ironhead goes into the line. I mean, you can be in the upper reaches of this rather large building and almost tell without looking that it's Ironhead who took the ball into the line on a short yardage play.
Been very effective this year. He had a weight problem on and off last season. He was suspended towards the end of the year, and this year he stayed in shape, stayed out of trouble, and has been a big contributor to the Saints team.
Just a little short.
Crowd's even murmuring about that.
Jim Moore with a quick word into the ear of Carl Smith, the offensive coordinator. There's Carl Smith. Goes back a long way with Mora.
Third down and a link at the 22-yard line. Hilliard and Hayward are the running backs. Small in motion. Ironhead, and he stumbled. Marshall, of course, gets up and says no.
That was not the type of running that you would expect from your fullback in 3rd and inches. That was, I don't know what seemed to confuse Hayward, but you're right, he stumbled, but not from being hit.
Well, you don't want a 260-pound running back trying to make a quick move to the outside.
That was not a picture-perfect short yardage run by Hayward. Let's see what happens.
No hole, make your own, Hayward.
He tries to go to the outside and just got his body lean too far forward and literally was dragged down by gravity, not by a Washington Redskin. That's a very disappointing 3rd and short attempt at a conversion by the Saints.
So now it's a Tommy Barnhart kick. That's fielded at the 29-yard line by Brian Mitchell. Good punt, 51 yards. Skins get it back, 9:02 left in the half, 3-0 Washington. Program note, the Barbara Walters special, a special 90-minute special, coming up tomorrow night at 9:30. And Frank, who's on that show?
Oh, yeah, Jerry Seinfeld, Al Pacino, Clint Eastwood, and Kathy and I have a long chat with Barbara. And I'll tell you, a long chat with Barbara is very interesting. You find yourself just kind of revealing everything.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern. On first down, Ernest Biner up to the 31-yard line. Gain of 2. So what did you reveal?
More than I wanted to. Whoa. He does looks at you, and out it comes. And you know, Kathy's always held a lot of things back.
You feel like revealing anything tonight?
I'm waiting to see how they cut this sucker.
Let's see how the game goes. Second down and 8 at the 31-yard line. Here's Ernest Biner, and he only picks up a couple up to the 33-yard line. Vaughn Johnson in on the tackle. Again, to set this game, to put it in perspective, Redskins 6-4. Dallas leads by 2 in the East, but Washington looking ahead, thinking about the playoffs. And when you look at their schedule, they'll be okay if they win tonight. Next week, Phoenix, they could conceivably be 8-4. They've got a huge game against Philadelphia next to last week. Saints, meanwhile, chasing San Francisco. Not likely they'd get them, but New Orleans wants to position itself for a wild card home game. 3rd and 7. Ripping airs it out, and he had Gary Clark open and missed him.
And that tells everything about the way Mark feels about that pass.
He looked at that shot. Rippon wasn't hit. He just couldn't believe that he overthrew a potential touchdown by Gary Clark.
There has to be some sort of confusion on the coverage over there. Reginald Jones started off on Gary Clark, and Gene Atkins is in the trailer position. Somebody, though, should have been running stride for stride, and Mark just puts about 3 or 4 yards more on the ball than he should have. He airmailed that.
Goodburn to punt. Patrick Newman to accept it. .46-yard boot and a 10-yard run back to the 31 by Newman. 7:32 left in the half. Still 3-0 Skins. And now time for a regular feature on what's new in the world of sports science and technology. Cruising down Bourbon Street in New Orleans, part of the French Quarter. The way it looks from the handsome cab.
Still no place like it.
First down for the Saints at their own 31. They've done next to nothing offensively. They trail 3-0. 7:32 to go in the first half. And Bobby Hebert's first play is a pass if he can get it away. Secondary does its job. And Hebert has to throw it, and then is it caught in bounds? Yes, Wilbur Marshall makes the interception. I don't know if Hebert was trying to throw it away or what, but it winds up in the hands of Marshall, and now the officials will gather to see if indeed he was in bounds. It had the look of Hebert trying to just throw it out of bounds.
Well, he can't go out of bounds and come back in bounds either.
The receiver went out of bounds, never reestablished himself back in bounds. Therefore, the pass is incomplete. Second down.
He could be forced out, but he has to come back in and reestablish his position in bounds. That's a good call by the official. Watch his foot.
He actually propelled himself up into the air from out of bounds to spear the ball with his right hand and bring it down. You cannot take away from the quality of the play that Wilbur made.
What an athletic move.
That was an excellent ruling by the official.
Ill-advised pass, and he got away with it. Second down and 10 at the 31-yard line. Swing it out to Hilliard, and he gets wrapped up by Andre Collins. Meanwhile, for the Saints up front, Stan Brock, the 13-year tackle, sprained toe. They work on him on the sideline. And Chris Port, second-year tackle, takes his spot. There is Brock.
And the New Orleans Saints and their offensive line are in the exact opposite position of the Redskins. Their group has started the entire season together without nary an injury. Cooper, Dombrowski, Hilgenberg, Kennard, and Brock.
Saints, first 3 possessions, a dozen plays, and 39 yards total. And here they are, 3rd and 4 at their own 36-yard line. Blitz. Hebert for Carroll to make the catch inside the 40 and is spun down at the 31-yard line.
That's beautifully thrown by Bobby Hebert as Charles Mann beat Chris Port, who had just come into the game, and Hebert had to let it go, I know, before he wanted to. And his timing was perfect.
Well, he was blitzed up the middle, and Charles Mann and others really put a hurting on Bobby Hebert that time. And for throwing back on his heels and throwing in a hurry, an extremely accurate pass by Hebert.
And you have to throw that early. You have to hang it up for a long time, and he was right on target.
There comes
Port,
Wilbur.
number 70. And here comes Wilbur and Mann. Great effort by Hebert.
1st and 10 at the 31-yard line. 5:45 to go in the half. Hebert hits Quinn early, and Alvoid Mays makes the tackle. It's a gain of about 5 to the 26-yard line.
That looks familiar for a Washington Redskins fan. You saw a lot of it on the part of Kansas City. Just quick little hitches against those corners who, of course, are backing up Martin Mayhew, who went out with a broken arm last week, and A.J. Johnson, who filling in for an injured Darrell Green. And A.J. is actually playing hurt tonight. Sore knee. Kansas City made a lot of yardage with just a little quick hit to the outside.
2nd and 5 with 3 tight ends in. And the catch is made for a first down to one of those 3 tight ends, the just activated Tommy Stowers.
And this is something that New Orleans, at least early in this ballgame, hasn't done. This is a consistent drive where they're taking advantage of the big play and then adding on to it. More often than not, the New Orleans offense has been a big play, and then they've faltered after that. At least they've tacked on 1 first down after the long pass, and seem to be establishing some sort of offensive continuity here.
You caught a glimpse of Ricky Pettibone. The Saints have passed on 5 of 7 first down opportunities, but they run here, and Hilliard takes it in for a touchdown. So they showed the tendency to pass, and they go back to the run on first down, and Hilliard takes it 18 for the score.
Richard Cooper, Dan, with a great block. Hilliard breaking behind it. Hilliard, knee reconstruction after an injury in 90. Just really got it back together this year. Watch on the outside. Watch 71. Cooper with that big block. Hilliard makes the great cut right off his butt into the end zone.
6-play drive, and that was the only run. Morton Anderson boots it through. 4:12 left in the half, and for the first time tonight, the Saints are on top.
It was a block that sprung the opening for Dalton Hilliard. Good move by Hilliard. I mentioned he had knee reconstruct surgery in 1990, only had about 300 yards rushing a year ago, but he appears to be all the way back. Good receiver out of the backfield, and you saw there a moment ago, good on the cutback.
You've got Desmond Howard and Brian Mitchell back to accept the kick from Morton Anderson, but not many of his kicks are run back, and this falls into that category.
Interesting young man from Denmark. We're going to take a close-up look at him at halftime. Very talented young man. Not only on the field, but off.
And we're also going to talk to Lawrence Taylor at the half as well and find out about his future.
Some grand plans, apparently.
Well, we'll find out. Hilliard, meanwhile, the only rush on that drive was his 18-yard scamper. 7-3 Saints. Redskins at their own 20-yard line, 1st and 10. 4:07 remaining in the half as we look ahead each team with all of its timeouts. Fakes to Biner. Rippin throws a duck. Incomplete.
A pass with no chance of being completed. That's a ball that very often ends up being intercepted. A ball without a lot of forward velocity. That ball went more up than it did out. A lot of movement tonight by Mark Rippon, though. You have to give him credit. On the Redskins' opening couple of drives, he moved to stay alive. He scrambled for a first down, moved around in the pocket, evading the rush, completing the ball downfield. But that is not the strength of Mark Rippon. He is a classic sit-in-the-pocket, throw-downfield type of quarterback.
2nd and 10 at the 20-yard line. Rippon throws. Viner makes the catch. Ernest takes it up to the 25. Swilling makes the tackle. We were talking about Rippon last night with Joe Gibbs, and I asked him to sum up Mark's season in an abbreviated fashion. He says he's been a little bit off, just like the rest of us.
Well, that's how you keep a guy off, too. If Mark Rippon continues to have to make plays on the move, the Redskins are going to be hard-pressed to win this football game. That is not the way they move offensively. Not with Rippon moving, everybody else except number 11.
3rd and 7 at the 23. High decibel level. Good protection. It's fired. It's incomplete. He threw a bullet to the 40-yard line, and Gary Clark couldn't hang on.
Gary Clark took a tremendous shot. He's slow getting up. Vince Buck was there to hammer him as Rippon hung that up about 3 or 4 feet over his head. Clark, knowing full well he's going to take the shot, goes up after it. Great concentration.
That's called
he knows he's going to get hit.
That's called a stretcher. You make your receiver stretch, and that's where he ends up after he tries for it.
And you go back and have a little word with him, Steve. Down a hair, please.
That's a killer. Down a hair. That ball needed to be 6 feet lower.
Well, you like to be kind.
Yeah, I know.
Here's Goodburn's kick. 47-yard punt. Patrick Newman, marker down on the near side, and then a nice tackle is made at the 30-yard line by the just activated Mickey Washington.
And if Mickey Washington doesn't make that tackle, we're looking at maybe the distance.
But we also have a flag down.
Now Washington, if New Orleans so desires, gets to cover a punt again. And you would think that that's exactly what we'll see. I'd make that team cover it again. He ended up getting nothing on the return. Make those 11 guys go down there a little bit tired.
Eagle formation on the offense. Number 59 lined up in the backfield, only 6 men on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty, repeat 4th down.
John Brantley. You have to have at least 7. You can have 10 if you want on the line of scrimmage, but you have to have at least 7.
You know, these things have plagued Washington, and it's very unusual for a Gibbs team. And top of your screen, he has to be up on the line of scrimmage. But what was it? Silly little penalties that last week they had 14 against Kansas City, 12 in the first half, and that's not Washington Redskin and Joe Gibbs football.
You're supposed to be within a foot of the football. As you can see, Brantley and just about everybody else on the Redskins was
well, it doesn't look
at least a yard, almost 2 yards off the ball. Well, it's one of those rules. It's like the double play in baseball. It's loosely enforced.
A bouncer, short hop, and then a line drive kick. Not bad, all things considered. Newman at the 42-yard line, and he runs it back to the 45, and there's another flag down at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, we may get the same penalty again.
It could be. They lined up just the same way, as we pointed out before they snapped.
And Wayne Sevier trying to explain to Joe Gibbs that that's not the way I coached them. I tell them to get up on the line, Joe. I keep telling them, they just won't do it.
Well, usually the official does that too, Dan, don't they? They'll do it a couple times a game.
Now, maybe it's not the call against Washington. Now they left early. Yep. The snap, 1 hop.
Ineligible receiver downfield on the offense, number 30. Penalty is declined. 1st down.
Left early, stayed late, and the Saints have it at the 46 of Washington. Bad snap by Bingham, but a nice job by Goodburn to short hop it.
I can't recall ever having seen a punt that looked like a pass like this. I mean, this was really a spiral that never got that far into the air.
Yeah, lucky they didn't have that run back all the way. Those are the kind you do run back.
Well, just
coverage
that
doesn't get downfield.
And just that extra half a beat that it took for Goodburn to field the ball is what threw the Washington coverage team out of sync, and they left early. Brian Mitchell, the player flag.
So that first penalty for only 6 men on the line, very costly. It winds up costing them 24 yards net. Saints at the 46-yard line and on first down. Hebert buys time with a roll and then goes very deep, and there's a bump and there's a flag. Brad Edwards bumped Quinn early.
I don't think Brad Edwards wanted to do that, but the ball was underthrown. Early was coming back. Brad Edwards could not keep from giving him the shove.
It's a classic case how you see a defensive back get in trouble. He did not know where the football was. He was looking at the receiver and not the football. And so when the football came up a little short, Edwards wasn't able to react.
Well, he was beaten on the play, and he tried to get back in it. Here he is trying to recover. Now the ball is thrown a little short.
He doesn't see it. He doesn't see it. And then he's looking at his man. You can put your hands up all you want. But Early's looking at the football, and Edwards is looking at Early. You got to play the ball, not the man. It's the oldest rule in coverage.
41-yard penalty. Movement, flags down, no play. Play is stopped.
Hobie Brenner got a quick one there.
Ooh, and then you've got Wilbur Marshall and Ironhead Hayward. One of the few times a running back will greatly outweigh a linebacker.
False start by the offense prior to the snap, number 85. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
I think they had a flinch on the other side as well. Both of the tight ends for the Saints flinch. Although Brenner takes an entire step rather than just a flinch.
It's now first and goal at the 10. 2:38 left first half. 7-3 New Orleans. Each team, all of its timeouts remaining. Hilliard on first and goal gets 3. Takes it to the 7. Brantley makes the tackle.
Well, that's a good play by Brantley. That's exactly what you want out of your middle linebacker, and that's why he's in there on running situations, because of his ability to get in there and stuff the run.
Stan Brock is back in for New Orleans over the right side.
Saints are going to let it run down to the 2-minute warning. There's no reason for the Saints to be in any hurry. They had a first and goal here. They have all of their timeouts. They want to take as much time off the clock as they can.
Yeah, the Redskins will end up with the ball one more time, so you're right. Why not minimize the time that they have left to work with?
2-minute warning. The treat to come to New Orleans. A scene every time we come to the Superdome. And their Saints are leading 7-3. 2 minutes to go. First half. It is second and goal for New Orleans at the 7-yard line. Hilliard is the setback. 3 wide out. Hilliard picks up 2, takes it to the 5. 3rd down and goal upcoming. Collins and Gouveia in on the tackle.
Stan Brock coming out and Chris Port coming back in, so it could be that foot is bothering Brock once again over his right tackle. 3 wide receivers and really a 4th receiver for the Saints. Dalton Hilliard, good receiver out of the backfield in short yardage situations.
Trips left. 3 receivers set in that direction. 3rd down and goal from the 5-yard line. Hebert out of the gun. Skins rush 4. Hebert flush. Throws back in the end zone. The catch is made by Quinn Early.
And the flag goes down as Bobby Hebert is jackhammered after the ball is thrown. And we're going to get a roughing the passer, I would assume.
Play count. Hockey League made the signal, roughing the passer, personal foul, touchdown count.
Wait till you see the shot that Bobby Hebert
Personal
takes.
foul, roughing the passer by the defense, number 58. 15-yard penalty, be carried over to the kickoff, touchdown.
Wilbur Marshall, who is back in pass coverage, is the guy that gets the roughing the passer. But what a job by Bobby Hebert of staying alive, getting to the sideline. All right, there he releases it, and there is the shot he takes from Wilbur. And that's more using his helmet as a weapon than anything else.
But the threat of Bobby Hebert on the run made Brad Edwards leave Quinn early and left just enough room for Bobby Hebert to get it in.
Anderson for the point after. Quinn Early now with 5 touchdown receptions this season, as many as the posse has collectively.
This is really a time where when a quarterback scrambles, it is so congested. The field is collapsed so much by your positioning that a lot of times it's very difficult to find a receiver because everyone is in such close proximity to one another. But alone at the back of the end zone is Quinn Early. And we have seen 2 quarterbacks tonight. Not exactly, take a look at it here from up above. Now watch as Bobby Hebert has to move to the right. The Washington defense reacts and comes up towards him. And there's Early in the back. That is a fine throw on the run and a nice catch by Early. A ball a little bit behind him. And right now they're checking Bobby Hebert as far as whether he's sustained any lasting damage from that blow by Wilbur Marshall.
14-3, an 11-point New Orleans lead in a game that is very critical to the Washington Redskins right now.
Watch Early coming all the way across the field. Hebert in trouble right about here. He rolls out, puts a little pressure on the run. Edwards does not stay with him. Early at the back of the end zone, and a well-thrown ball by Bobby Hebert.
And really the most difficult man to account for because he came the farthest. The people to that side of the field are the ones that the defense can more easily account for because they started there. Early coming all the way from the far side of the formation is the most difficult man for the defensive secondary to pick up because he's the last man entering that side of the field.
He's just a blur in front of Edwards' face. He picks him up as he comes across, but he's looking through him to see Hebert with the possible run.
This ball, who knows where this thing's liable to end up.
Metairie.
A ground rule double.
Anderson kicking from the 50, so that's an easy touchback. Skins have all of their timeouts, but it's almost unbelievable. The Washington Redskins, with all of their weapons, with Rippon and the posse and Biner and all of the other weapons they normally would have at their disposal, granted it's a banged-up offensive line, this team has scored 2 offensive touchdowns in 21 quarters.
Don't be so quick to just put it off on a banged-up line. I mean, like that's just a casual thing. If you cannot control the line of scrimmage, you cannot win. Nobody can, no matter how good your quarterback and your receiver.
Rippon throws, catch is made. This is Don Warren making the catch, and Toy Cook with the tackle. Donnie Warren makes only his 3rd catch of the season. He's almost exclusively a blocker. Skins, their first drive went forever and resulted in a field goal, but it's been 3 and out 3 times in succession. 2nd and short, they convert here. The catch is made up at the 33-yard line. That's Ricky Sanders. Sanders has caught a trio of passes tonight. Art Monk has been quiet as a church mouse. And Gary Clark has been held in check. 37 seconds left in the half. Timeout, Washington. Banged up wrist because of the Marshall hit. Report from the bench, sprained wrist will return.
And they don't want to lose him. What were they last year? He was 9-1 as a starter, and they were 2-4 without him. We were here when he returned, remember, on that 11th game against the Raiders, and he blew them away. He was the heart and soul of the offense.
37 seconds, and Ernest Biner takes it and takes it out to the 38-yard line, so the Skins stay on the ground. And this is what Washington's been reduced to, with next to nothing offensively. They don't even take a timeout at this point, and Rippon airs it out and has it picked off at the 25-yard line by Gene Aston. Redskins with 13 seconds remaining on the first pass of the night that Ribbon even intended for Art Monk's hand.
Well, that's not the place to go deep. One thing New Orleans is not going to give you, they're sitting back there in a double, actually in their nickel defense, playing a full umbrella zone. They're not going to give you anything deep.
Well, the Redskins still had 2 timeouts left. Why did they hurry up to the line and force that play? They should have taken a timeout before they even ran this play.
Yeah, great field goal kicker. Throw a couple down the middle.
Well, even if they complete that pass, you're left with 13 seconds on the clock and 2 timeouts. You don't need 2 timeouts with 13 seconds on the clock.
Strange things happening around the defending Super Bowl champion.
If you take a timeout before that play and complete the pass, then you've got 30 seconds or 25 seconds on the clock.
2 touchdowns in 21 quarters. I'll tell you what, for the Redskins, it's a red alert right now. They are in trouble tonight and during the rest of the season as well. Morton Anderson, a feature on him. Lawrence Taylor will be live from New Jersey. 9-3 over the Super Bowl champion Redskins. New Orleans coming into the game 7-3. Second of the 49ers NFC West. Washington 6-4. 2.5 as we begin play tonight. Back of Washington in the NFC, or back of Dallas in the NFC East as Morton Anderson gets set to kick off. Brian Mitchell and Desmond Howard are back to receive. There's the Heisman Trophy winner from 1991. And the left-footed Anderson bounces one at the 12. That's corralled at the 3 and then dropped by Mitchell. And Brian gets banged down by Tommy Sowers at the 15-yard line. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers with that fresh, pure, natural taste. Nothing beats a Bud. By Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember, Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. And by the people at Nike who encourage you to just do it. First half stats. Coming up, 14-3 is the score. And the edge in yardage for the Saints, both on the ground and through the air.
But obviously, very meager yardage for both teams.
Rippon on first down. The catch is made by Art Monk at the 28-yard line for a first down. That's his first catch of the night and 837 of his Hall of Fame-bound career, the most in the history of the National Football League.
Take a look again. Monk just takes it upfield and turns it back inside the linebackers. Biner comes out of the backfield, pulls the linebacker, and he's wide open.
Just about the safest pass in the business. Low and inside, receiver catches it on a knee.
And that's the 143rd consecutive game in which he has caught a pass. Ernest Biner picks up 2, takes it to the 29. We've been seeing Biner running the ball tonight. We have not seen Ricky Irvins tonight, who normally shares time with Biner in the backfield.
Irvins has been a bit of a victim of the same thing that has affected the posse, the offensive line and all its woes during the course of the season. Irvins with low production, averaging 2.9 per carry, and Joe Gibbs refuses to point a finger at him. He says, it'll happen. We'll use him.
Second down and 8. Here's Desmond Howard on an end around, and Howard takes it up to the 37-yard line. And Joe Gibbs is going to look for anything to spark this team right now.
That's it exactly, Al. I think you're going to get the ball in the hands of somebody new, somebody maybe who can make something happen in a flash. And Desmond Howard can certainly do that. And anybody else, I'd be looking at Irvins. I'd be looking at Robert Green, another back that Joe Gibbs has talked about playing. I mean, I don't know that you go to the house with many bullets left in your gun tonight.
Third down and 1, 2 minutes into the third quarter, 14-3, Saints. Rippon on third and 1 throws to Orr. He's got it at the 41, enough for the first down. Reginald Jones makes the tackle. So on third and 1, when the Skins this season have shown a propensity to pass in normally a running situation, they convert again.
And Dan, when do you do that? You do that when you really don't have the confidence of your offensive line and where they have got to really be together is on short yardage.
Oh, well, and Frank, you talk about, again, we're back to the offensive line as we follow Jim Hanifin, their offensive line coaches, being asked to perform miracles. I mean, just think about what a typical Redskin game looks like. Counter trade to the right, counter trade back to the left, 3 tight ends, slam it at you. I mean, that has been the key to their offensive success for the last 10 years, and it's missing.
1st and 10 at the 42 with Monk in motion. Rippon throws, it's Orr again, and he gets ridden out of bounds by Troy Cook. So they've been going to Terry Orr with more and more frequency as the season has progressed, and that's his 3rd catch of the night.
And the unusual thing about Terry Orr, for a guy who is a tight end by trade in the Redskin offensive scheme, is a tight, is an H-back rather. You see his average tonight, 7.7 yards per catch. On the season, though, it's over 20 yards per reception, which shows you that Terry Orr is a guy that gets downfield. He's not that plodding type of H-back.
On 2nd and 3, 6-man rush, and the pass is incomplete, a little bit underthrown, intended for Gary Clark.
Rippon trying to protect that, throwing it low and away. Clark had moved Reginald Jones deep, had the move on Jones, and Rippon didn't get it there.
Gary's got to wonder, what do I have to do to get one thrown somewhere around the numbers? He had one about 3 feet high that almost sent him off on a stretcher, and then that one one-hopped to him.
3rd and 3. There is Reginald Jones. And Clark splits wide left, Sanders in the slot. They send Middleton that way as well. Backside pressure, Biner picks up Swilling. And the catch is made by Art Monk at the 45, and that's a 1st down. So Monk, who did not catch 1 pass in the 1st half, has caught 2 on this drive. Skins keep it going.
That was a well-designed pass. Monk was lined up at the split end, but he was in close. There he is at the end on the right side. Now, watch him come across just with enough yardage to get the 1st down, weaving his way through traffic. Rippon looking deep. Spots Monk. Monk covers it up. He took a tremendous shot from Jones, but he holds on for the 1st.
Hello.
1st down, Washington at the 45. 10.5 to go, 3rd quarter. Saints lead by 11. Rippon throws to a wide open Clark, who makes the catch. No, he didn't. Incomplete is the ruling. Looked like he had it and came down with it, but the ball came loose.
Again, the ball thrown way high, and Gary gets up as far as he can and controls the ball, but that was quite an effort by Gary Clark.
It was an effort for Rippon to get rid of it, too. He just got buried. Tremendous pressure on Rippon. He was lucky to get the ball even downfield. Boy. A shot by Atkins, number 28.
You talk about a grade A effort by Rippon. Just a super effort by Gary Clark, and on top of it, it's finished off by an excellent defensive play by Gene Atkins. I mean, that's good football all the way around.
They've been throwing Clark's way a lot tonight, but he still does not have a catch. Biner goes nowhere except back to the line of scrimmage, and it's going to be 3rd and 10. It's Sam Mills in the middle of the pack to stop him.
Talk about the hits laid on Clark, and we talk about the hits on Rippon, but we're looking at the number 1 pass defense after 10 games in the National Football League, and the New Orleans Saints. And they're kind of a quiet team. They don't get a lot of national exposure. They just quietly go about their business and hanging up a good record ever since 1986 when Jim Mora came here. And right now is a situation you do not want to be in against the New Orleans Saints, with Jackson on one side, Swilling on the other.
3rd and 10. At the Saints 45-yard line. Opening drive, 2nd half.
And up come the decibels.
Rippon, and he had a wide open Art Monk and missed him.
Well, you could just take a guess as to who was wrong. Art Monk turned it up. Mark Rippon thought he was stretching the pattern another 5 yards downfield. You see, there's the break by Monk. Rippon thought he was continuing downfield before he made a break. It's a reading passing game, and as you can flip the coin as to who was right and who was wrong.
One of the few times Rippon had time to sit in the pocket and wait for the final break.
Redskins taking nothing but little baby steps on this drive. They've had the ball for 10 plays, and they only get to the Saint 45. And Goodburn has to punt. And the Skins can't down it. They had a golden opportunity inside the 5, but Johnny Thomas could not make the catch. He got spun around and could not down the football. Out it comes to the 20. The playoffs, and yet the feeling in this town is, can the team take that next step? That's the question.
Well, they didn't have a winning season until he got here, and that was 20 years of futility. But they don't like the way he plays his game. It's a little conservative for them, and even though they win, you'll hear the boos. They just don't like the way he goes about it.
Well, until they beat the 49ers, that's the first step. That's where it all starts.
The big game, as they call it.
Or win a playoff game. At the 20-yard line, there's Hilliard who stopped. And you can't blame the fans in a way, because you have all that futility, then you get a coach who gets you to the playoffs, then he's in his 7th year, and they're the only team in the National Football League that's never won a postseason game.
But I just don't think that they should have such short memories around here. It was not long ago that this was a franchise that in many ways was a laughingstock around the league in its futility. I mean, you know, so many windless seasons. Yeah, the bags over the head.
Over the head saying, ain't.
This man has brought respectability to this Saints franchise, along with Jim Fink. This is not just a flash winner, an occasional winner. This is a year-in, year-out productive franchise.
2nd and 10, Saints at the 20-yard line, 8:38 to go, 3rd quarter, New Orleans by 11. Good protection, and then the pass is to the wide-open Eric Martin, who avoids tacklers at the 40 and takes it all the way to the 35-yard line.
We talked about the many changes in the secondary for the Redskins, and another Redskin is down, but that was obviously a blown assignment in the Redskins secondary.
Oh, and we've got
Eric Williams.
Yep. Eric Williams down all the way back at the 10-yard line.
You know, your concern is for Eric Williams, but it's almost beyond belief what has continued to happen to the Redskins over the course of the season. Here comes Mann working against Port.
And working against Daybert. Charles Mann, as he so often does, gets a hit on the quarterback. One of the premier pass rushers in the game.
And Eric Martin with a good effort. The concern for the Redskins right now is Eric Williams.
That was Eric Martin's first catch of the night. He's their leading receiver with 47. There's an injury timeout, 8:18 to go in the 3rd.
A few moments ago, Derek Kennard working one-on-one with Eric Williams, and it looked as though Williams, number 75, just caught his foot in the carpet. Down he goes. Kennard did come down on top of him, but that had nothing to do with the injury. So it did appear, though, as though Eric Williams, whatever damage he suffered, was this happened with his foot getting caught on the artificial surface.
Jason Buck will come in to take Williams' spot.
Buck is coming in, but he has been hurt himself. He is a very sore knee, and they had hoped they didn't have to use him much tonight. But the Redskins are in that kind of a situation. They are down to the bare numbers, so to speak.
Just wonder, I mean, when does it end? When does it end?
It's amazing.
Richie Pettibone's defense.
Tack.
Looking at the Saints, 1st and 10 at the 35-yard line. When Early is the man in motion. Here's a little toss to Dalton Hilliard. He picks up 3. Unfortunately for the Redskins, I guess the law of averages coming into play. Last year, very few injuries. They stayed generally healthy. They had one of the great years in the history of the National Football League last year. And when you think about it, they lost only one game that meant anything as you look at Joe Jacoby, and that was the game to Dallas in November, because the other loss was to Philadelphia in a totally meaningless game at the end of the year. And then they were fantastic through the playoffs.
Steamrolled their way through the playoffs, and won a Super Bowl rather easily.
Darrell Green, another of the walking wounded, who's been playing in a limited role tonight. Fred McAfee is the setback. The fake to McAfee. Hebert stepping up. And Hebert is taken down at the 25-yard line. That's very close to a first down. Wilbur Marshall gets credit for the tackle. Appears they're going to spot it just a little short of the first down. Under 7 minutes now to play in the third quarter. Williams.
Hebert moves around in that pocket a lot better than it would appear. He does not have a whole lot of athletic moves, but you look at what they've done for him. He's got one of the great offensive lines around. They've only given up 10 sacks. Well, he has a high percentage type passing game, and he does move around well.
And now he moves to the sideline.
He calls a timeout on a 3rd and inches situation at the 25-yard line with 6:25 remaining in the third quarter. Timeout Saints. They lead 14-3.
Not from the effects of the block by Derek Kennard, but he has been taken from the field, and the preliminary assessment is a pulled groin.
Skyline of New Orleans outside the Superdome. Inside, it's 3rd down and inches at the 25-yard line. And Bobby Hebert gives it to Dalton Hilliard, and he gets racked up. That's John Brantley, number 59, timing his jump perfectly.
It's all timing, but when it works, it feels good, and it is dramatic. You miss, you look idiotic. But that was right head and head, helmet and helmet. Brantley timed it perfectly.
But, you know, on the goal line, a yard or two out, that can be a tough thing to do. But when it's a matter of inches, go ahead and take the chance.
He's taking Gouvea's place, and you saw Gouvea on the sideline saying, "That's it, man, that's it."
And that was absolutely perfectly timed over the top by Brantley. Wilbur Marshall there as well. But 3/4 of that was Brantley.
And when you got a field goal kicker like Morton Anderson, you don't fool around with about 4th and inches. You bring him on.
42-yard field goal attempt. Barnhart to hold it. Just like an extra point for Morton. 43 officially. And with 5:27 remaining in the third quarter, the Saints extend their advantage to 17-3. Attractions on our college football schedule this Saturday for you. In the afternoon, you're going to see Florida, number 6, against Florida State, number 3. And then at night, primetime 8 Eastern and 5 Pacific, it's the annual battle between Notre Dame, number 5, and the Trojans of USC, number 19.
As a USC alum, I hope it's not the annual happening over the past few years. Notre Dame dominated.
Irish have had their number. Anderson's kick is going to be run back by Mitchell. And Brian Mitchell skitters his way out to the 27-yard line. Big drive coming up for the Redskins here, who've been limited tonight to 35 yards rushing. And Dan talked about, of course, the counter tray, their trademark play through the years, their great ground game. But this season, the Redskins on the ground swallowed up by Kansas City last week. Before that, by the Giants and by Seattle. And less than 90 yards in each of their last 3 games.
Kansas City numbers are a little misleading because Kansas City owned the football and had a 28-0 lead at the end of the first half. So it was up in the air for the Redskins against Kansas City.
Ricky Irvins is finally in the game. He stays in the block. The catch is made by Art Monk out to the 36-yard line. Very close to a first down. And there is Ricky Irvins, who last year had a great rookie season. Figured to see more and more playing time this year, but his rushing average this year is a 2.9, and that's bad.
That's less than good.
Again,
better than bad.
Reflective of what's going up front in that offensive line.
You saw that almost 2 yards per carry difference.
2nd and inches, and here is Ricky Irvins, and if you're going to gain 2.9 yards, that's a good time to do it on 2nd and short. He picks up the first down. Ernest Biner gets a blow.
Biner coming in averaging 3.7 a carry.
Well, the Skins, it's hard to believe this team, so noted for its potent running game, collectively averaging about 3.4 yards per carry. First down at the 37. Here's Irvins making the catch. And a rookie plows to the 45. That's a gain of 8. Johnson and Mills, the linebackers, converge on the hit.
If you'll notice, even though this is a group that is playing out of position, especially when you consider McKenzie is really a guard, Raleigh McKenzie's playing left tackle, which locks him up here with Pat Swilling. And I mean, that's just perfect pass blocking by McKenzie. The reason Jim Hannafin put him out at left tackle, he's the best athlete of the group. Swilling, the most athletic of the Saints, he thought that'd be their best matchup.
Second and a long one.
Boy, can't beat that protection.
Rippin, and that's knocked down. He threw into a lot of traffic. Reginald Jones knocks it down, intended for Art Monk, who had 2 guys in front of him and 1 behind him.
Jones shaking his head because he knew he should have intercepted that ball. He was laying back, playing it beautifully in the zone, timed it out, and then just didn't handle it. Monk coming again from the opposite side of the field, splits the zone there, and up comes Reginald Jones trying to time out the interception, and he just didn't hold on to it. Rippin with a lot of time, and he has not had many plays in which he's had the luxury of time.
Third, long one, 46. 3:14 to go in the third.
Boy, more tremendous protection.
Ooh, and he puts his head down, gets the first down, a big first down, takes it to the Saints 49. Mack and Johnson make the hit with 3 minutes to go in the third.
Redskins doing what they have to do against New Orleans, and that is handle Jackson on one side, Swilling on the other. That time that was just good coverage downfield, and Rippin pulls it down, puts his nose down, and gets the first down.
Well, what's significant about that pass protection we just saw against Ricky Jackson is that was Ron Middleton, a tight end, who was locked up with him one-on-one, and then literally became locked up with him as they rolled to the ground.
First and 10 at the 50. Rippin going for a wide-open Clark. He's got it. A 38-yard gain, and then it came loose, and they say no catch at the 12-yard line. Juggled it, never had it, to the extreme displeasure of Gary Clark.
And I think this is a fine call by the official.
I think
this is a fine call by the official. Gary Clark was bobbling the ball, and it rolled down his leg. And Gary, I think you can argue that all you want. Take a look at this. See the ball, he doesn't have control of it, and it bounces right off the ground. That is superb work by an official.
Gary Clark, now look, he takes a little look to the inside. He's looking for Vince Buck, and he loses concentration on the ball, and that's not a catch.
The only decent ball that Gary Clark has had thrown to him all night, and he dropped it.
They've thrown it to him quite often tonight, but he doesn't have a catch. Second and 10.
It might have surprised him.
And here goes Rippin, and open again, but he overthrows the receiver is Ricky Sanders.
Well, that's the second time tonight that we've seen Mark seriously overthrow a wide open receiver. We saw it in the first quarter. And this is, maybe these last couple of passes have been more indicative about the Redskins and what's been happening to them than anything else.
This ball is 60 yards in the air.
2 wide open receivers, and what do you have for it? 2 incomplete passes.
What did Joe Gibbs said? We've been missing by just that much.
Yep. What he said about Rippin, he said he's been a little bit off like the rest of us. Third down and 10 at the 50-yard line. Sanders in motion. Pressure on Rippin, who has to roll away. Not far enough away. Wayne Martin.
Well, that's what you expect of a #1 draft choice.
And sooner or later it was going to happen to Rippin tonight. Pressured once again out of the pocket. He is not your scrambling quarterback.
Well, Ricky Jackson is the guy that starts Rippin on the move. Watch him beat the corner, and Rippin doesn't have a chance to get set up. But this is Wayne Martin, 6'5", 275 pounds, who runs down Mark Rippin and gets the sack.
16-yard sack. That's a big-time sack.
Well, that's the number 1 draft choice sack. 8th rounders get those 3-yard sacks.
Kelly Goodburn, that's a low liner. And it doesn't even take a Redskin bounce. It's been that kind of a drive and starting to be that kind of a season.
And they're yelling because they wanted a roughing the punter, or at least running into the punter, but not to be.
1:34 remaining in the third. 17-3 Saints. 4 coming in, but right now in a lot of trouble. Down by 14. They've scored 2 offensive touchdowns in what is now going to be, in 1 minute and 34 seconds, 22 quarters. And they're back on defense here as the Saints take over at the 24, 1st and 10. Bear. For early, it's tipped and it's incomplete. Good coverage in the secondary. Edwards and A.J. Johnston converge.
You know, one thing about it, fellas, when this happens to the defending Super Bowl champions, generates precious little sympathy around the rest of the league. You know that Joe Gibbs isn't receiving a lot of condolence cards from his fellow coaches.
You know, it's always dubious to talk about a prospective sea change, for lack of a better term. But the Redskins were thought by many to have been fully ripened last year, a little old and a little slow, and it'll be interesting to see what develops for the rest of this season. 2nd and 10 at the 24. Bear has it one-handed by Dalton Hilliard, and it's been that kind of night so far for the Saints.
Well, called making plays. It's very simple. Tonight the Saints have been making plays, and the Redskins have not. And that was just a good illustration how easily that could have been an incomplete pass, bringing up 2nd and long. But Dalton Hilliard, through a good individual effort, turns it into a nicely done play.
Hilliard has those soft hands. That's why he's in there and always on the 3rd down situations, because he's like another wide receiver for you coming out of the backfield. Good effort here. Now a 3rd and about 3. And another situation which he worked so well out of the backfield.
Short 4 at the 30-yard line from the gun. Bear using almost all of that play clock. Steps aside, hits Dalton Hilliard, and Hilliard lunges for what appears to be a 1st down. He's stopped by Marshall, but not quickly enough. And that will be the final play of the 3rd quarter. 1st down.
And Hilliard sets up, looks for a blitzing linebacker. There was none. He just eased around the corner, and Bobby Hebert is going to know that he is always there, and he was there once again.
And what is the result? A 1st down for the New Orleans Saints. On a, you know, you just if that was Washington doing those same plays, would they have converted the way things are going for them?
End of the 3rd quarter. New Orleans 17, Washington 3. Monday Night Football returns after this word from our ABC station. Carl. The Big Easy.
You handle this traffic rather well.
Yeah.
It's a great walking city.
New Orleans always a rockin' town, and especially so on a night when they can celebrate a Saints win, and they're 15 minutes away from doing that right now. 17-3, we start the 4th quarter. 1st down New Orleans, and this is Ironhead Hayward going nowhere.
And I know what's going through the minds of Saints fans around here as Collins and Cooper share pleasantries. And that is how they blew the lead last week against the 49ers. What was it, 20-6?
14 points in the last 11 minutes by the 49ers to win 21-20.
There are the numbers as the Saints, without a big output, 192 yards, but they've been very efficient. Defensively, they've limited the Redskins to 143. It is 2nd down and 9 at the 36-yard line. Early in motion. Dalton Hilliard. Hilliard loses the football at the 39-yard line. But the Redskins cannot buy a break because Hobie Brenner is there to recover and maintain possession for the Saints. Joe Gibbs keeps winning Super Bowls and keeps seeing his team have problems the following year.
But if anyone is equipped to handle it and maintain somewhat of an even keel, Joe Gibbs is the guy. I mean, if ever human nature would want you to rant and rave and throw temper tantrums and complain that this isn't fair, now's the time. And Joe Gibbs, trust me, that will never happen.
3rd down and 7 at the 38-yard line. Hilliard fighting, but the Redskins, at least for the moment, I thought they had him stopped, and then he twists and turns again in the arms of Marshall and others, and is very close to having picked up the first.
The others were trying to take the lower half of Hilliard's body one way, and Marshall was trying to take it the other.
Oh, if you ever wonder about Hilliard being all the way back from that knee reconstruction surgery of a couple of years ago, you just had to watch that twisting, turning, cutting movement a moment ago. Jim Moore known his share of championships from the old USFL days.
Interesting combination of facial expressions. There. First down.
Yeah, the other thing about Joe Gibbs, too, is the fact his team, even though it's been troubled, fallen from the heights of a year ago, you don't hear a lot of the same things that you're hearing around the league with other teams who have fallen. This is a team that has come together. They don't do a lot of whole bantering about each other. They don't knock the coach. You don't even hear them on the talk shows, in the radio, knocking everyone within the team, within the management. You just don't hear that from Joe Gibbs' team.
Last year, as you see, they were 9-1. After 10 games, they blew 4 fourth-quarter leads in a row. This year, they blew the lead last week in San Francisco, and they want to avoid that fate. And they look to be in pretty good shape at this point. 17-3. On first down, this is the 7th play of the drive. A 2-yard run for Hilliard to the 47. A.J. Johnson makes the tackle. Dan, let me go back to what I talked about before in regard to Washington. Do you see this as a team, I don't want to say just yet, but pretty close to being a team of transition?
Well, am I to assume that when you say transition that we will lose games in the transition, that we will not be as productive as we were?
Not try to, not necessarily try to lose games, but you have to substitute in key areas.
Things will get worse before they get better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also a team that we know is willing to go to plan B. That's out of course, but they've made major trades. Free agent Charlie Casserly has done a great job in changing this team over the years.
I think if an organization, Al, to answer your question directly, can do it, if you can add, and you're right, the Redskins need an infusion of youth. The choice of Desmond Howard was an interesting choice. You can make a strong argument that they should have gone for an offensive lineman relatively high in the draft. There are other defensive linemen to blend in with that group. Here they took the Heisman Trophy winner and added to really the strength of their football team. They're going to have to make some additions to this team on the line of scrimmage in the very near future. You're right. Mm-hmm. Their level of competitiveness is really going to be lowered significantly.
3rd down and 6 at the 49-yard line. Under 11 minutes to go in regulation.
Hebert using every second off the clock.
And he hits Hilliard, and Hilliard escapes the tackle at the 50-yard line, then takes it to the 48, but he's still short of the first down, and they're forced to punt. Marshall makes the tackle.
He could not get away from Wilbur Marshall. So the Redskins will get the football back. Charles Mann going against Chris Port out on the right side. This goes on every play. Almost ripped his jersey off. Face mask at the end. That's a hazard of being a pass rusher and a celebrated one.
And New Orleans, as is their custom, with a very conservative call on 3rd down. They come up short. Barnhart to kick. Mitchell back to receive it. Taken at the 4-yard line. That's dubious to begin with, and double dubious when you get tackled at the 8.
I mean, I just wouldn't have believed that you'd see a Redskin punt returner field the ball at the 3 or 4 yard line. Out of character. But then again, so's his score.
From the bruised shoulder, or a bruised arm, incurred 2 weeks ago against the Seahawks. Denver, Seattle next Monday. Skins at the 9. First and 10. There's no play here. This well, there's no play, but don't tell that to Rippon. Number 69, Les Miller, never heard the whistle.
Yeah, you got a false start. It looked like Riley McKenzie, the left tackle, rolled back off the line of scrimmage early, and that makes the false start. And let's watch the end of it here. There's Miller, who's going upfield and
false
actually
start,
is pushed
prior to
into him.
snap on the offense, number
Boy,
63.
that could have been deadly.
5-yard penalty, half the distance to the goal. It remains first down.
Yeah, Matt Elliott, the rookie center, is working against Miller, and that really can't be laid at the doorstep of Miller, trying to hurt the quarterback or something. And you're right, Mark Rippon, lucky he got that right leg up off the ground. Not a very good spot to be, back in your own end zone.
This is Quilling and Jackson country.
Half the distance, so it's a 4-yard penalty. It's first and 14. 9:55 left in regulation.
And blame that false start on McKenzie, on the crowd, and they know it, and here they come.
No way you'll be able to change it.
There they go, holding hands again. McKenzie and Brown.
Biner,
Great call.
that'll quiet him to the 19, and that's maybe enough for a first down. It's a 14-yard gain. Taylor and Atkins, the safeties, in on the stop.
Boy, good block by Matt Elliott, the center. He gets out there and blocks Von Johnson. Watch right in the middle of your screen. He fakes one way and he hooks Johnson, number 53, and pins him back to the inside.
And a great block by Middleton.
Skins go without a huddle, and it's Ricky Sanders making the catch, and he is banged back after reaching the 23-yard line by Gene Atkins. So a sense of urgency now for the Skins with 9:15 to go in regulation, and they're down by 14.
Crowd is not going to help this no-huddle offense.
Oh, here comes Ricky. Here comes Pat.
Here's a screen set up for Biner, but no blocking.
Boy,
Reginald Jones is there.
this is a good defensive football team, guys.
New Orleans read the screen too, Dan. They just held the line that would have formed the screen in at the line of scrimmage, and there was no screen formed at all.
Second and 12 from the 22. Rippon guns it incomplete. Intended for Ricky Sanders, but he was surrounded by a quartet of black shirts.
Well, that time Rippon had the time to look over the field, but in the nickel defense, the New Orleans Saints are using 6 defensive backs. 1 linebacker, Swilling, and Jackson on the end. And it's just tough to uncover back there.
I'm not sure that system. It's one way of passing it. It shows great camaraderie and teamwork. But you're at a distinct disadvantage out there at tackle in this crowd noise. Look at the head turn inward out at the last minute.
Third and 12. Rippon's got to get him up to the 34 to convert. And he throws a ground ball into double coverage.
Hartmont deep downfield, open, shaking his head. But Rippon was very, very busy. Swilling and Jackson coming on from either corner. Rippon stepped up. He knew he couldn't run for the yard, tried to squeeze it in.
Kelly Goodburn to punt. 8:25 remaining. Patrick Newman backs up. Fair catch called for. And he makes it at the 28-yard line. 50-yard boot. 8:18 left in regulation. New Orleans 17. Washington 3. New Orleans, their Saints are on top 17-3. New Orleans with a win would be 8-3. And if they go to 8-3 and the season ended tomorrow, they'd be in the playoffs as a wild card and would host a game.
They would be the wild card team with the best record.
First down at the 28-yard line. And this is a surprise. A play fake, a pump, a flag, and it's incomplete. Another flag. In fact, there are 3 flags on the field.
Well, Mays, no question about his holding. He was going to be beaten deep, and he just grabbed the deep man, early Quinn.
I think he held him first and then interfered with him later.
He might have got both those flags.
You could see it was the pump and go by Hebert.
Because Wesley Carroll actually was going deep against Alvoid Mays.
I mean, he's going to make a turn to the sideline after he runs about 10 or 12 yards up. Right there.
There's
that
the
little
hit.
And that was Hebert's pump.
I got you.
There's the hold.
Well, there's a flag at the 49, a flag at the 45, a flag at the 44, and it's not even June 14th.
There was a multiple foul on the play. Illegal contact by the defense, number 20. That penalty is declined. Pass interference by the defense, number 20. Automatic first down.
I was right.
Well, he
held him
almost
first
went for the hat trick.
Interfered with him later. Should have hit him after the play was over. He got a personal foul on top of it.
A continuing infraction.
That's right. Could have gone for the rare trifecta. There's Charles Mann being worked again by Chris Port.
I mean, somewhere along the line, you got to call that. It's happening on almost every play on Mann.
You should be a little more delicate, Chris.
That's the second pass interference call on the Skins tonight. One cost them 41. This one cost them 27. At the 45, Ironhead for 3. Well, when you look at the Saints now going down the stretch, Miami comes here next Sunday. Good game. Then they have Atlanta. Then they go to the Rams. Then they have Buffalo in here.
Interesting, too.
And then at the Jets.
Those next 2 games tonight and the next 2 games all happen within 11 days because they play a Thursday night game on the 3rd. That'll be Atlanta. We asked Jim Mora, he doesn't laugh a whole lot. He doesn't like to joke around too much. We asked him about Atlanta, their troubles, and he thought that'd be a fairly easy contest. Said, are you kidding? That's a division game. They'll come in here and kind of shut us up.
2nd and 7 at the 42-yard line. Hayward again. A little short of the first. It's going to be 3rd and a yard or so. Meanwhile, when you look at the Skins, and isn't it funny the way the season turned out? They lose to Dallas on the Monday night opener, and everybody says, okay, that's the Super Bowl hangover. But then they rebound to win 5 out of 6. And after they'd beaten Minnesota on October 25th, a lot of people were saying, hey, watch out for the Redskins. They're all the way back. And now, all of a sudden, they're on the verge of losing 3 out of 4.
And now they got a killer schedule, I think. Phoenix has come on very strong. They haven't won all that many games, but they're playing good. Phoenix is at Washington next, and they're at the Giants. They'll have Dallas at home. They're at Philadelphia. Then they'll play the Raiders. The Raiders are coming on.
3rd and the yard. Just inside the 37-yard line. Dalton Hilliard. Ooh, nice second move. Flips inside Brantley after the initial contact. And that should be enough for the first as they spot it on the other side of the chalk at the 35-yard line. And it's going to move the sticks.
Well, if there's any question why they're playing Dalton Hilliard over Fred McAfee, their leading rusher from a year ago, it's been a race tonight. Hilliard with some superb moves out of the backfield as receiver, running the football. He has done everything you could expect from a running back.
Jim Mora being very vocal, talking about this was going to be Fred McAfee's night. We're really going to give him a lot of work. Glad Jim was compelled to share that with everybody. Especially Fred.
Well, we saw him with 1 run.
Yeah, that increased his production by 20%.
Here's Hilliard again.
To 5.
Dalton's made it pretty tough for him to be removed from tonight's game, is what it amounts to.
It gives you another dimension, too, out of the backfield. McAfee with a good second half a year ago when he was activated off the practice squad, but he's not a receiver, and Hilliard gives you everything. He can work out of the backfield just like a wide receiver. There's McAfee. 6th-round draft pick out of Mississippi College that they cut at the beginning of last year. They put him on the practice squad, and then they brought him up at midseason. He turned into their leading rusher, and he had carried the ball only 4 times coming into tonight. That's how good Hilliard has looked.
5 minutes to go, 17-3 Saints, 2nd and 7 at the 32 for New Orleans. Ironhead rolls his way to the 27-yard line. It'll be third down and short. See if Hilliard comes back. And Hilliard tonight has been responsible for 6 first downs on third down plays. But for the moment, he's going to get a rest.
And this, a drive that just, if at all possible tonight, brings a smile to Jim Mora's face. Grinding out first downs, the clock under 4 minutes and 20 seconds. This is the kind of a drive that just puts the game away.
Third and 3. Typical A-Bear using all of that play clock. They snap it at 3. And on third and 3, he has that one knocked down at the line of scrimmage. It was Shane Collins, 91, with a hand on it.
And that's something very, just very not typical whatsoever of the New Orleans style. I mean, a passing play that stops the clock. I mean, at the very least on third and 3, if you don't convert, you're in 4-down territory. If you feel like going for it, if it's just a matter of inches, the clock continues to run. You're guaranteed of being down around 3.5 minutes.
But you can always trot out Morton Anderson, who, again, from 45 yards, that's almost a gimme the way he's kicking this year.
He kicked one tonight from 43. Barnhart to hold. 45-yard Morton Anderson attempt. What else is new?
Yeah.
Right in the heart.
Oh, he almost missed that one. That might have been 2 or 3 inches off the center line.
Yeah. Mark Rypien and the Washington Redskins on the verge now of not only going down to defeat, but going 23 quarters with 2 offensive touchdowns, and that's the equivalent of almost 6 games.
In the game they won, they didn't score a touchdown.
Minnesota, 5 field goals.
Yeah, 5 Low Miller field goals.
Morton Anderson sends it to the goal line. Desmond Howard tripped up at the 18. Sean Lumpkin with the tackle. Well, if the Skins, this is before tonight now, before the outcome of this one. Dallas 9-2, Philly 7-4. Skins lose here, they go to 6-5, and they'll be fighting for their playoff lives.
They beat Philadelphia earlier in the season, but they'll have to play the next game at Philadelphia.
Right. So I mean, it's certainly premature to be throwing dirt on their grave yet. Ball came out.
Recovers at the 14. Well, the Skins are also on the verge as you look at Pat Swilling. Washington has not lost back-to-back games since 1989. They lost to the Raiders and the Cowboys in late October and early November 3 seasons ago. There's a little dump to Warren, and he gets it out to the 24-yard line.
Boy, and Donnie will take the rare opportunity to catch a pass. Only his 3rd reception of the year.
And he's got a bad left shoulder. He can't even lift that arm up.
And look at that. He's hurt himself.
He took that shot right on his bad shoulder. Gene Atkins, one of the big hitters in the New Orleans secondary, number 28.
One of the premier blocking tight ends in the game has really been, boy, you can just see his entire body just went soft on contact. And again, Warren is symbolic of the Redskins and their troubles. Trying to play hurt. You cannot fault in any shape, manner, or form the attitude and determination of this Redskin team. They're trying.
3rd and 4, and here is Ricky Irvin getting the first out to the 38. Sam Mills makes the tackle. 3 minutes to play. 20-3 is the score.
How far?
On top.
You know, the question we have to be asking ourselves now, I mean, analyzing this Saints team, which will certainly be in the playoffs. I mean, there's no way they're not going to make it.
Rypien airing it out, looking for Monk, but he's covered.
You know, how far can they go? That's the question. I mean, they've lost 3 games. You know, at the conclusion of tonight, they'll be 8-3. Their 3 losses are by what, a total of 9 points? They got one 1-point loss, a 2-point loss, and they lost the 49er game by 6. I mean, this is, however boring their critics might say they are, this is a very winning football team. How close are they to being over that hump?
The game they could have won last week. 49ers putting up 14 points in the last 11 minutes to beat them.
Here's Gary Clark, and that is his initial reception of the night, and Gary Clark turns it into a beauty, taking it to the 23-yard line. Keith Taylor runs him down.
Hard to believe his first reception of the night.
Well, they've thrown to him about 6 times, and he had that wide open pass that he dropped. That's his first catch.
And they've been high, and they've been low, and some have been in between. This was one of the ones that was in between, and he caught it.
Now here's Irvins.
Oh, and he almost lost the ball.
He takes it to the 18-yard line. And that's going to take us to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to go, and the Saints are that far away from win number 8. Bro? Oh, what is this? Oh, standing room only.
That man could be arrested.
They came on a chartered train. They came on buses, planes, barges up the river.
Both of them.
Yes.
Horses.
Oh, horses, that's right. You name it. From near and afar.
On 2nd and 5, the catch is not made by Ricky Sanders at the goal line.
Rippon tried to squeeze it in. It would have been a great catch had Sanders been able to pull it in. And he came ever so close. Gets away from Toy Cook. I don't know whether safety had a hand on it or not.
Keith Taylor might have gotten a hand on it.
R.J.
Ricky Irvin's going nowhere.
R.J. Ricky Jackson.
12 years Ricky Jackson's been working from out there in the corner. Has stayed remarkably healthy. Up around 100 sacks for his career.
4th and 6. Last gasp for the Redskins. Gary Clark. And they're out of breath. As if they weren't anyway.
Right.
First down New Orleans, 1:21 to go.
You know what? They played like the defending champions. I mean, they sure do. There was no quit here by anybody, and these Saints have reason to celebrate. Terrible disappointment after last week's 1-point loss to the 49ers, and they have come back and won a big game.
Well, we said so much about the lack of Washington being able to put an offense together, but they're playing against the 3rd-ranked defense after 10 games, first in the league against the pass. It's just a great defensive team. And you better bring all your weapons when you come up against the New Orleans Saints. Tough to play them hurt.
This is the difference between the way up and the way down.
And the only way this one isn't over in 1:21 is if Washington takes a timeout and don't count on it.
Now, the good news for the Skins is that, all right, Darrell Green was here tonight. Another week's practice might work his way back into starting. Jim Lachey is going to start practicing next week. Maybe he'll be back in there by the end of next week. There's Lachey. All right, it was a week off for Joe Jacoby. Maybe Jacoby can get to the point where he can come back in and start and play an entire football game. If we can get some of these guys back, there's Darrell Green that he'll, I assume, be back starting by the end of next week. Maybe the Redskins are going to get some of their key people back at the right time. If they can keep from losing any more, maybe they'll be in a position to make a run in the month of December.
2nd and 12.
And Joe Gibbs, by the way, has an awesome December record. I mean, his teams are strong closers. I don't think you'll see Joe Gibbs saying, I think it's over.
Meanwhile, that's some bad company since 1980. Most consecutive games scoring 0 or 1 touchdown. Detroit in 88, Bucks in 90, Seattle this season, and Washington has just gone 6 consecutive games with 1 touchdown or fewer. And they've scored 2 offensive touchdowns now in 23 consecutive quarters. 20-3 is the score. Saints win it. Back after this.